good life, full of fun.
Hey guys, look at my kitchen. Another big, crazy, exciting day in my kitchen. Why? Two things. One, real important, we're making one of my favorite dishes. I love risotto. I absolutely love it. Riso means rice in Italian. So risotto, we're gonna make a beautiful, delicious dish with one of my favorite cheeses. So when you say cheese, you had me at cheese, you know what I'm saying? So we're gonna use the king of cheeses, Parmesan, or in this case, Parmigiano Reggiano, the best of the Parmesan variety of cheeses. And this is gonna come out thick, it's gonna come out creamy, starchy, with just some beautiful backdrop of flavor right from Italy. Gonna be delicious. Number two, why am I excited? Because I'm conducting a little experiment. Normally I make risotto with Frank Sinatra playing in the background. Today I went with Dino Essentials up in the background. So I'm a little nervous, I'm a little excited. I don't know which way it's gonna come out. Okay, so let's get into ingredients. So number one, we're gonna wanna use a rice. So one of the more common rices that I like to use is an arborio rice. It's a short grain rice, a little longer in grain than some of the other varieties. It's starchy, it's creamy. My mouth is watering just thinking about it. So I've got 2 cups of arborio rice. Number two, we're gonna make a sofrito. In this case, we're gonna make a sofrito, the beginning, if you will, kind of like a mirepoix, which you would make in French cooking, right? But in this case, we're gonna make it real simple with a risotto. You're gonna make it with an onion. So I've got a medium-sized yellow onion. You can use a white or a yellow onion. I like that yellow golden onion. It's got a little bit more of a kick of onion. And then I'm gonna use a couple of cloves of garlic. So this is some homegrown local garlic. It tends to be a little bit bigger, but it tends to be a little bit milder. So I've got 2 cloves of garlic. And I'll tell you, you had me at garlic and Parmesan cheese. Are you serious? Okay, now we're going to butter. So we're gonna use 1 stick of butter. You'll notice I split the butter in half because we're gonna use half the butter early on and half the butter later on. I'll go through that. I've got 8 cups of stock, in this case chicken stock. So listen, you guys can do whatever you want. You can use, for vegetarians out there, you can use a vegetable stock, or you can use a chicken stock. Sometimes I'll split it. I'll use half vegetable stock and half chicken stock. So you can go crazy. You can do whatever you want. Now, king of cheeses, let's rock and roll. We got Parmesan Reggiano. I've got 2 cups of grated Parmesan cheese, and that is just, I mean, I could literally take this, go sit in a chair, and just with a spoon. Anybody with me on that? Next, we're gonna want some wine. Now, in this case, you're gonna want more of a rye wine, but really any white wine will do, but you don't wanna use a sweet wine or dessert wine for this. In this case, what I've got is an Orvieto Classico. Next, we're gonna want some salt, and we're gonna want some pepper. So one of my favorite salts is either the gray sea salt or a pink Himalayan. Today, we're gonna use a pink Himalayan. Why? Because it's sexy, okay? And pink Himalayan's a little bit more earthy and it's a little bit more briny, so it doesn't give you that sharp biteness to it. We're gonna always go with a black ground pepper. Next, we're gonna need some olive oil. So I say we go to Puglia, Italy, some of the best olive oil in the world, Vito and Joe's. So for anybody new to our channel, we own a farm in Italy. It's right above the heel in Puglia or Apulia, Italy. My 2 sons, Vito and Joe, and we co-op with a group of farms to bring you some of the best extra virgin olive oil you'll ever taste. It's grassy, it's earthy, it's peppery, it's absolutely delicious. So if you go to my website, Cooking Italian with Joe, or you go to my Facebook pages and you click buy it now, we'll literally drop ship you a bottle, large or small, or more, right to your front doorstep. I call it a trip to Italy right in a bottle. Okay, so let's start having some fun. All right, first we're gonna wanna heat up our stock. So I've got my 8 cups, I got a nice big saucepan, and I'm gonna start warming this up right away while I'm starting to prep everything. I'm gonna put this on the stove medium heat, so by the time the rice is ready, we can start adding that stock. Next, we gotta get our onion going. So I wanna mince this up. I wanna chop this up nice and fine, cut the stem off, cut it right in the middle, give it a good peel. And you want the back end because that's gonna hold you together while you're cutting it. And then you're just gonna hit it across here, get right up to that back end. And now this will hold it together, and then you're just gonna come across. Perfect, then it'll break up into the perfect size. Guys, now we wanna prep a risotto pan. So a nice big pan is really ideally what you want. In this case, we're making 2 cups. which is a good amount of risotto. So we want to prep this, and we got to add some fat. So one, we're going to add, obviously, world's best olive oil, right? Vito and Joe's. So I'm going to add about 3 to 4 tablespoons of olive oil. Now I'm going to add a half of a stick of butter, and I'm going to turn the heat on medium, and then just give that a nice quick stir. And now I'm going to add those onions. And give this a stir so everything's coated with the oil. And we're going to translucence here. We're not going to fry them. Now the onions are always going to take a little longer than the garlic. So that's why I'm starting the onions first. And I'll let them cook down a little bit before I add the garlic. Garlic will tend to get a little bitter on you if you overcook it. I'm going to start cutting up this garlic. You know, if you're ever prepping something and somebody says don't add onions or garlic, you know, my attitude is, why hang out with those people? You know what I mean? Real easy. Don't come over for dinner. Get out. That's a little dating advice for some of you young gentlemen out there and some young ladies out there. You're trying to find that perfect match. This is what you do. You get some onions and garlic going on in the kitchen when you invite that person over. You know, if they go, oh, I love the smell of onions and garlic. Hey, you know what? We're taking the next step here. But if they don't, you know, it's that second thought, I don't feel so good. I got a headache. I think you need to go home. You know what I'm saying? Just give it a nice fine cut. Okay, our garlic's done. You're going to see my onions are just starting to get soft and a little bit translucent. Now I'm going to add the garlic. And now we're going to give that a nice stir. Guys, the onions and garlic are now translucent. You're going to see when you look down here, you're able to see through the onion. And one of the other tests that I like to do is when I push on the onion, it should not quite mush. It'll have a little body to it, but it'll push right through it. Now with the onion and garlic done, what's really important is toasting or crostini the riso, the rice. Why is it important? Because when you toast the rice, it creates a shell on the outside of the rice. It allows it to absorb that liquid and release that beautiful starch without destroying the rice kernel, as you will. So it doesn't become like popcorn or it doesn't become mush. So this is a really important step in making risotto. So while my fat is hot, I'm going to go ahead and just add the rice. Now we're going to let this toast in that hot fat, in that hot oil, for about 2 to 3 minutes. First get it all coated, and then what you're going to hear when it's ready, it'll start to crackle. You hear it? Toasting the rice always is my favorite. I remember when I was a little boy with my grandmother, Nona, and she would ask me to come close to the rice and put my ear near the rice so I could hear the rice talking, hear it crackling. She'd say, oh, Giuseppe, do you hear the rice making the noise of talking to you? Our rice is toasted, perfecto. Now, next step, I want to add some wine. I'm going to add about a cup of wine. And that's, oh, the smell of that wine is beautiful. And what that's going to do is that's going to immediately start our creaming process. It's going to infuse the flavor of the wine into the rice. You see how it's starting to get creamy in there? Already you can see the starches. And we're just going to let that set for about a minute or two. You're going to see the bubbles, so all the alcohol will bubble right off. You see how the wine is already absorbed into the rice? Now my chicken stock is hot. Remember, that's critical because we don't want to stop the cooking process of the rice. So I'm going to bring the stock right over to the side of my pan. And first I'm going to put 2 ladles of my chicken stock into my risotto. And then really slow, I'm just going to give it a nice slow stir. And with everything at temp and everything hot, you see how it creams up? It's going to absorb this relatively quickly. After the first ladle, my trick is I'm going to add some pepper. Why? Because I want the flavors and the oils of the pepper to start get absorbed into the risotto. So I'm going to add about a half of a teaspoon to 3/4 of a teaspoon of, and I'm going to add a little bit of my pink Himalayan. Not only because it's sexy, but because the Parmesan cheese has salt in it. So I only want to add a little bit of salt. So I'm going to add about 1/4 of a teaspoon, no more than a half of a teaspoon. We don't want to add any Parmesan right after you add the water because it'll clump on you. So you want to get it absorbed right before you're going to add the ladle. I'll show you here. Now the rice is very creamy. There's not hardly any liquid there, and I'm about to add some more stock. So I'm going to add 1.5 clumps here of cheese and stir that in first really well before you add any more liquid. Once that's melted, I'm going to go ahead and add another ladle or 2 of my stock. And now we're just going to keep repeating that procedure for the next 2 times. Oh my God. Onion, garlic, cheese, butter, rice. Absolutely delicious. Listen, this is almost set. We've got a really important next step. One of the most important parts next to toasting, or that crostini of the rice. And that's going to be the mantecatura. Mantecatura means to cream, or creaming of the risotto, which means you're going to add the final stages of your butter and your cheese. So I want to show you how to do that. Before I do, a couple of really quick important tips that makes this come out great. We already learned that Frank Sinatra and Dino are critical, right? We've already learned that, right? I don't want to burn this. I got to keep stirring. Number two, what really helps this come out great is if you subscribe to our channel. So there's a red button right down there. When you click that, you hit that bell. Any new trips I've got coming to Italy, any new recipes that I've got, any new blogging with Borio, it'll come right to your notification box. And I'll tell you, it means a lot to me when you subscribe to our channel. And hey, makes you part of the family. You know what I'm saying? Next, I probably don't even need to say it, but if you haven't visited the website or the Facebook page, grab yourself some Vito and Joe's. All right, now this is ready to go. And we want to cream it. So let me show you what this looks like. So all our liquid's done. It's creamy and it's nice and loose. So we're going to turn the heat off. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, in this order, my butter first. All my butter's melted. Now I'm going to add my Parmesan Reggiano, okay, my cheese. I'm going to hold back just a little bit to top it off. And I want to stir all this in. While I have the heat off, I still like to keep it over the stove so that cast iron still keeps adding some warmth. And I'm going to mix it until all of the cheese is melted. So creamy and delicious that is. Guys, time to get serving this stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and put this right in my pan. Now I'm going to hit that last bit of cheese. Tempo mangiare. Hey guys, time to eat. One of my favorite parts of the video. You guys know that. And ideally you put, a spoon and a half. And then what you're going to do is just give it a nice flat feel. Then of course I got a little freshly grated cheese. You see how creamy that is? It almost looks like a pudding, like a custard. Oh, it smells good. I'm telling you, Dino was good. You could smell immediately the cheese, the aroma of the cheese that comes out, the garlic, the onion, the butter, the oil. Oh yeah. It's like Parmesan pudding. So the rice, the riso, you want to have that al dente. It's soft, but when you bite into it, it's still got a little bit of that body. And you could just, the flavors of the garlic and the salt, the pepper, the cheese, the rice with those starches so creamy. That goes good with anything. Molto deleccio. Hey guys, I got another tip. You know what this would go great with? Not only Prosecco, but that white wine that we made it with. Beautiful. Perfect companion with this, no doubt. Guys, thanks for joining me for an absolutely delicious recipe. Certainly one of my favorites. Remember to hit the subscribe button, that little bell, make you part of the family. Hey, and remember, hit my Facebook, my Cooking Italian with Joe website, or my Vito and Joe's Facebook page. Grab yourself a bottle of olive oil. I'd love to send you some of our family olive oil. Drop ship it right to your house. And guys, as I always say, remember to spend time with your family, old familia, you know what I mean? Like, shut the TV off, the computer, get rid of the cell phones, get around the table, make a mess, burn a few things, tell stories, spend time with your grandparents and your parents, celebrate your heritage, and I'll tell you what's even more important, set some traditions that'll last you a lifetime. I know they did for me, guys. Hey, from my kitchen to yours, until next week, guys, bon appetito.
Good life, full of fun.